Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review of The Bear, Season 1, Episode 7. This is an episode titled review. This may be the most, manic, intense episode of anything I have ever seen in my life. I was so unbelievably stressed watching, the vast majority of it.
So chaotic. I was so stressed. It was so good. So far for me, this is the episode of the season. It was wild.
It's a really funny thing because they had, these extended credits at the start of it, which is this
Yeah.
interesting version of Sufjan Stevenson's Chicago that I haven't heard before. I am a
Mhm.
preeminent expert in shows, including Sufjan Stevens and all of their, we're doing Shrieking here on the channel. He was in an episode of that. It's a couple of days ago when we were covering it, but they had this really long intro with this song sort of giving you the vibes of the city.
Mhm.
And the episode itself, the actual events in the kitchen weren't really that long. This was probably the shortest episode in the season with that in mind.
Mhm.
Yet it felt so perfect. And I don't say that word often, but the writing, the way that it was shot, how it felt like you were really there in that kitchen watching every single thing just completely go wrong.
It was so chaotic. I couldn't believe it. And it was just no, it was so crazy. And we end this episode with Carmy on the eating a donut off the floor. I was just like, this is just the way that it is.
Yeah, at a certain everybody in their own way just sort of gives up at the end of this, and giving up means a lot of things to different people. And for an episode that's so short at the same time, it feels like there's a lot to dive into and digest on. So we will get into all of that. But before we do, join our Patreon. Check out that link in the description below.
Mhm.
Every Tuesday night, we are there talking about the bear. We want you guys to be a part of that. Also, we are covering here at the channel Shrinking, as we mentioned, Hijack on Apple TV Plus, The Morning Show. We are getting ready for American Horror Story, which is
Yeah.
coming up very, very soon.
And thank you to everyone who has joined our
Yes.
Patreon. The reason we're doing the Bears because of those Tuesday night live streams. You guys recommended this show
Yeah.
to us, and we're so happy to be here because, oh my God, this episode was crazy. So I expected that there was going to be some kind of fallout in the last episode where we had Sydney make this risotto dish, and Carmy was like, it's not ready yet. And she's like, okay, whatever. Here, customer, just enjoy this risotto. I thought the fallout was going to be that he was just like, hey, I told you it wasn't ready. Why are you giving it to anybody? Stop.
Yeah.
This episode, to find out that that person just happened to be a food critic
Yeah.
who was like, this risotto is amazing. Like the sandwiches, they've gotten better, definitely. I enjoy them a lot better. But whoever made this risotto is a queen kind of thing. It was
Yeah.
just like, uh-oh. I didn't know what Carmy's reaction was going to be because he told her it wasn't ready. It wasn't time for it to go out yet. She was like, oh, it was an accident. I didn't know who he was.
This entire episode really hinges on that moment. That is really, I think, the core of Carmy's unraveling. And there's a lot that's going on here because, you could say a part of it is, oh, is he jealous that she, I don't think it's jealousy. I think it's really the fact of the matter that she put this out there. She kind of went against everything that was at the core of the restaurant, but I think he's also so focused on the logistics of how to make this work, how to make this restaurant profitable, how to keep these things going. He
Yeah.
knows in the back of his head that this is going to lead to a lot of other people showing up asking for this risotto. We even hear at some point somebody asking about the risotto at the restaurant. And I'm not I'm not Carmy. I'm not a pro chef. I'm not even an amateur chef. However, I have made risotto before. Here's one thing I know about risotto. It takes a very long time to make. This is going to slow down that kitchen immensely.
Yeah, I don't think that it's about jealousy. I think it's more just about hierarchy. Like he put together the brigade to make sure that everybody had a role so that the kitchen would just move along, more seamlessly. And that's the point of it, right? So the minute that he tells her in the last episode, this isn't ready yet, we're not here yet, that should have been the end of it. She should not have gone
Yeah.
out and then given it to somebody to be like, I didn't want to waste food. Here you go. Because anything can and did happen. And I think for Carmy, it's more about that it's like, I said no, we needed to move on so that we were able to keep things moving, because he has said, and we saw this, if the shop doesn't function for one day,
Yeah.
they're done. So stuff like this can't be happening. Everybody has a role and they need to be in their role.
And I think Carmy is thinking also about just like the continuity of the restaurant itself. Like maybe there are a couple of things that Sydney could perfect further with the risotto. Maybe that's a part of it. But I think the other part of it, and I've thought about this a little bit the past few episodes in general, is that so this place is selling, Italian beef sandwiches, also now risotto. Also, Marcus is off here doing donuts. This is the weirdest combination of food. I think
Agreed.
he's clearly, I think, trying in some ways to formulate, okay, what can we eventually make this place into? And how can we sort of establish a menu that feels a little bit more cohesive? He's encouraging people to be more creative because I think he's trying to eventually figure all this out. But I think because he comes from where he comes from, he understands this is not a sprint. This is a marathon. We have to pace ourselves, but when we get all this food out there, it's going to be perfect, amazing. Everybody's going to love it, and we can keep up doing it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even Richie brought this up to kind of be like, risotto. Like,
Yeah,
how does this fit in? Like, are we actually doing this? And it doesn't make sense. Like, I understand where Sydney is coming from, where
yeah.
she's like, she wants to do more high-end stuff, but this is not necessarily the shop for risotto. You can do more high-end stuff. Like Carmy is changing the sandwiches where it's like, okay, they're a little more high-end now, but that's what the shop makes. And then all of a sudden, yeah, it's donuts and risotto. And it's like, how do donuts and risotto go together? Like it's just turning into a mishmash of like, what are we?
This is the first course of the unraveling. I think
Oh man.
the second course of the unraveling really comes, I think, courtesy of what's going on with the receipts, the pre-order system.
Sydney
Yeah,
again, like Sydney's having a bad time here,
yeah,
really, because not only did everything happen where she accidentally gave this risotto to
yeah.
a reviewer who was like 10 out of 10, love it, sort of thing. She has set up this system, with the tablets where it's like, oh, okay, we're going to have orders coming in, but she forgot to turn off the pre-order. So when the shop is about to open, 8 minutes before the shop is going to open, they have like 87 cake orders and 38, chicken orders and 100 sandwiches all just piling in.
Carmy cannot handle stress well. Like this is a very valuable lesson we've gotten from the whole season. We've mentioned this before. Is that I mean, he's an excellent chef. He's amazing at what he does. I'm still not sure he likes it, and that's what makes this show so fascinating. Is that when all this stuff comes in, his brain immediately melts down because he's just like, okay, there's no way we can keep up with any of this. And that's one problem. But the other problem is, once again, oh, Sydney has done something wrong. And I think Sydney is already upset about the fact, and I get it, where she's gotten this really good review for something, and she probably wants people to congratulate her and be like, great job with that. I'm proud of you. You really helped out this restaurant, and nobody's really doing that. So she is like starting to get pushed and pushed and pushed over the top.
Sydney's unraveling was wild.
Yeah.
Like she already felt really bad by crossing over the line by giving that risotto out, and that it went to somebody it shouldn't have gone to.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, she feels good that she got a good review, but I think she feels more bad that she's gone against what Carmy said, and now it's turned into a bigger thing that it should have. And now she forgot to turn off the pre-order, and she's turned the whole shop into chaos. Everything is an accident. Like none of this was purposeful. She
No.
wasn't trying to hurt the shop. She wasn't trying to hurt Carmy. But Carmy is now so wildly stressed out that he's being extremely sharp and short with her and everybody. But because she already has
Yeah.
all this guilt and feeling so bad about it, his words are hitting harder than I think they normally would.
Yeah. And it's this two people are going to these extremes. And what makes this even more effective every single character within this kitchen is either doing something wrong or they're doing something to contribute to the stress even more. Like all of a sudden for Tina, this becomes take your kid to work day. And
Yeah.
I know there are reasons for that were even outside of her own control. But still, now, okay, now we got this kid here. We're supposed to be teaching him how to do things. And yeah, in theory, it's like, oh, great, this is somebody else who can help. But if they don't know what they're doing, then it's not a help at all. Then you're basically having to handhold somebody through what is at this point like a complete another mess.
It was still a really nice moment though that she had went to Sydney and was just like, I like basically I really respect you and
Yeah,
what you've done, and I think you could really teach him and he could really gain from you. It was just such bad timing
yeah,
on it. I mean, like, oh woof, we got to talk about that conversation she had with Richie, because the first
yeah,
conversation, man, it went really badly. I mean, Richie even kind of accused her of knowing what she was doing and
yeah,
handing that risotto out knowingly to a reviewer to kind of get her way on things, and her being like, no, like, and we know that it was not on purpose.
yeah,
It just happened to turn out the way that it did. But that conversation later, when she was just like, you're a loser, even your
yeah,
daughter knows you're a loser, I was like,
yeah,
wow, Sydney would never say something like this. Like, she is truly pushed to her limit,
yeah,
that by the end of, like, I did not know how Richie was going to react.
yeah.
He can be a hothead, but I was like, oh my goodness, is this the moment that he's just going to snap?
It's gonna sound weird to say, but I'm actually kind of proud that Richie didn't go worse than he did
Me too.
because see, yeah, your daughter thinks you're a loser. That is the line.
Oh,
It's one
so
thing.
hurtful.
Yeah, it's one thing to call somebody a loser, but then be like, your own kid doesn't even like you. Your own kid thinks you're a failure. Like that, those are the words that are just like so unbelievably tough. Richie's just catching L's. Richie's also gotten stabbed in the midst of all of this.
Yeah, I mean, that was, oh my goodness.
Richie's having a bad day.
Him walking into that knife into his butt, I was just like, it couldn't get worse for Richie.
Okay, here's the thing. Like, if I'm walking into a place and I'm seeing somebody and part of the butt sticking out and they've got like blood, I'm just like, no, no, I'm good. I do not need this. I'm walking out. I'm going somewhere else. I don't care how good the sandwiches are.
And then there's everything that's going on with Marcus and this donut. He
Yeah,
finally is like, I have it right. It's perfect.
yeah,
He brings it to Carmy. Carmy's just like, no, this donut, I'm not having this donut. I have 87 cake
yeah,
orders. Where's the cake? And it really frustrates Marcus. I understand, but
yeah,
at the same time, like, Marcus, you got to be in tune with what's going on. Yes, I understand
yeah,
you've got your donut and you're really proud of it, but you've also seen all the tickets coming in
yeah,
and that there are 87 cake orders. Like, you do need to be on what's happening. You can be creative, but you also have to be at work when it's time to work. And we do see him later, like, throw all the donuts down. I was like, oh my goodness, is he quitting? Like, it kind of looks like he is.
I thought he was in that moment.
And then it was Sydney quitting.
I
Oh
know.
my God.
I thought I maybe we did lose both of them, but I thought Marcus was done in that moment. Also, I was so sad for those donuts. Those donuts look so good, and to see donuts be mistreated that way as a donut connoisseur.
I mean, Carmy's face when he ate that donut off the floor and he was just like, this is amazing. This is the best donut ever. He had this huge smile on his face, like, dang, what a good donut.
I gotta say that as much of a donut connoisseur as I am, I'm not eating that off the floor. Carmy has gone a step further in his donut love than I will ever go. What? I mean, at that point, I don't even know if he's thinking anymore. I just like, oh, Sydney's walking away. The kitchen, this is really, everything is on fire, and he is the dog meme being like, this is fine.
Yeah, no, Sydney quitting, her sitting on that stool with that look on her face, like this really weird, like, grin, like
Yeah,
she just couldn't take it anymore. I was like, this is she is amazing. Like, the writing for her,
yeah.
the acting with her, that oh, they just panned over and she just had this weird look on her face. I was like, oh no, what is happening here? And she's just like, no, I'm out of here. I'm putting on my shoes. I'm done. And Carmen's like, really? Yeah, really. Like, how is he gonna get her back? Because one of the things that she had brought up to him where she was just like, I really respect you as a chef and like I love your work, but like, no, like you can't treat me like that. I know that I made some mistakes, but
Yeah.
like, get out.
The thing that Carmy's gonna have to do here is obviously realize that he took things up to 11. I think Sydney's also gonna have to realize that she took things up to 11.
She owes Richie an
Yeah.
apology, not just for stabbing him in that butt, but like that
Yeah.
whole comment, like you can't there are some things that you can't walk back, but she's got to try.
Yeah, she's got to try. I think both of them are at fault in this situation, and I hope that some people close to them will help them to realize this because this partnership is really excellent to watch. I'm with you though that look on her face. I was just thinking this is her Joker origin story in this moment. Like she just looks like she's full on ready to let the world burn. I was kind of terrified watching like what is she about to do? She does not look like someone who's present in this moment anymore.
No, and she absolutely let that world burn when she walked out. That's
Yeah.
why at that moment for Carmy, after she left, it was like nothing left to do but eat a donut
Yeah.
off the floor.
This is a real thing. We haven't watched ahead, but the finale is the restaurant still exist because they effectively. I don't know how you continue this day after this.
No, I have no idea. It's crazy.
Yeah, you got to shut this place down, give people their refunds if they pre-ordered or anything else. I mean, maybe you can scrounge this ragtag crew together to maybe make a few sandwiches for people, but like you ain't doing what you thought you were gonna do going into this day.
No, this day feels like it's a loss, especially with Sydney leaving so early on in this day. Like this day is a loss.
I just love how focused, how controlled this episode was. It wasn't like, okay, we need to make it longer than it is. It's kind of weird in the sense that you could probably watch this episode. It's helpful, sure, if you've seen a little bit of the rest of the show, but even the way they put like the bear at the start of the closing credits, it almost felt like this was its own almost pilot in its own way and how much it just really took us inside that moment. Didn't give us a lot of extraneous characters. You know, Sugar wasn't a big part of it. You know, other Oliver Platt. It was just very much about here is almost real time. This is the hijack of the bear. Everything is taking place in real time.
Or the Fly episode of Breaking Bad, where it's just all in this one space with all your characters in there.
I think this is, to me, this is probably the episode that made the bear into a little bit more of an Emmy darling and all that sort of stuff. I mean, we're recording this at a time when it is up for a lot of Emmys for the first season. I think I keep hearing season 2 is even better, and I'm just sitting there being like, how can it be better than this?
Yeah, I'm really curious too. We had 2 comments on our last video that are like, all I'm gonna say is the fork. And now I'm just like, the fork? What? What's the fork?
Yeah.
What is the fork? And it sounds like it's an episode that's coming up in season 2. And now I'm just like, I cannot wait.
Yeah, this is one of the best episodes of the past couple of years. It is just so outstandingly well done, and it's completely different than almost anything I've ever seen.
Absolutely, it's great.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure you guys out there are like, we know it's great. We're watching this video, but it's like, you know what? Sometimes it's nice to have your opinion reinforced. So we can all just sit down and congratulate each other for watching a really great episode of television.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, join our Patreon. We got a link in the description below for you guys to check that out. Thank you to everyone who has supported us. We really appreciate it. We'll see you here next time.